Hello, possums, all the way from winter in Australia, your friendly sociologist having a look at current events as they unfold and hopefully getting a bit of head start on some of them. But look, I think the biggest thing to happen at the moment, apart from the Australian election, go, my fellow Australians, there will be a wear-off factor. Look, in 2 months, we'll be slapping our foreheads going, why aren't Labor doing more on this and this and this? But for now, we're happy. Okay, but back to you guys in the US. According to Midas Touch and Legal AF and the big legal eagles, the case that I want to talk about first is it was described basically as the motherlode of all lawsuits, and it's been brought by labour organisations, non-profits, and a few local government institutions. What's it about? The nuts and bolts, that it's actually unconstitutional to destroy government agencies. Actually, I think you'll find that is the job of Congress to generate an agency. So, in other words, Doge was illegal, but also to dismantle government agencies is equally unconstitutional. So, finally, sorry about all the background noise. We've got a lot of visitors at the moment. So, this is a big case. So, let's have a look. So, I was very pleased to see Justice Roberts actually exert a little finger towards protecting democracy. Can't expect much more, it would appear. But look, it was something. So let's have a look how this case is going to go. I was very heartened by the fact that the legal mobs were so excited. To a certain extent, it represents so many other issues, right? Whether that's federal workers taking class action or a zillion other issues. It's really the crux of the matter. So let's have a look here. 3 of the normal cards and 3 of the oracles. So let's go. This court case, yeah. Well, I might read these and then pull the others. This is actually about the theft of democracy for the American people, this process that was done by the Department of Greed and Evil. It was way too impulsive. This is the impulsive knight into the headwinds, doesn't care what happens, don't care what they break. That was their actual remit. That's what they set out to do, and they did that. And now they appear to have crashed and burned. But the net result is the dismantling of services and other things that impoverish the American people. These could well be MAGA voters in this sort of metaphorical snow. But all you guys, all the good guys, are caught up in the flack of this behaviour. So, looking at this law case going forward, that it was grotesque overreach, it was unconstitutional. What will the result be? Because it doesn't matter what the result is, to a certain extent, it will end up at the Supreme Court, surely. Okay, so okay, joining forces. I just listed all the things who were combined to go forward in this case, and that's going to make them stronger. Controlling the narrative. So, yeah, as long as they use terms like waste, fraud, and abuse, who doesn't want to stop waste, fraud, and abuse? Well, you could certainly make a solid argument that those who are benefiting from it. But generally, It's a vote winner, people not realizing that they're talking about food in the mouths of children being wasteful and abused. So controlling the narrative, this is a time for the Dems to step up and speak and take control of the narrative. It's given to them on a silver platter. Please use it. Disaster and wreckage. So I'm loving that. I think this will take God knows how long to play out. Legal things are not quick, but it will be wreckage. So even though Musk will probably leave the country, I doubt he'll go back to Canada at any point. They hate him in the UK. This is part of the problem of being an absolute wanker pet. You're not popular anywhere, even if you've got a lot of money. So that might work in the US, but in other countries, doesn't matter how much money you have. If people don't like you, they really don't like you. Okay. So I think Musk is in the wilderness. Doge will be found to have been illegally conceived, and their work, therefore, should be reinstated. But a lot of damage is done, that wreckage in the meantime. But it's heading in the right direction. Now, um, there's a bill coming up in the Senate as we speak. It might even be while this video is going up. But originally it was a bipartisan bill. How rare is that? Well, bipartisan in the sense the Democrats didn't oppose it. It's about regulation on crypto. So good, you think? Yes. And something called stable coin, which would be in my primitive understanding of the crypto world, a stable coin is pegged to the US dollar or gold or to something, and then there would be some, sort of quantitative measure with crypto. Sounds good. Problem is why the Dems are trying to stall this vote in the Senate is because the Trump family actually are now up to their armpits in cryptoville, right? And stand to make, because of insider trading, the ultimate insider trading. And so the Dems wanted to get a bill up that no member of the government or their families can have investments in things that are being discussed in government. Well, it's about 4 years or maybe 60 years too late, Dems, but it's better late than never. But so they're trying to slow this down because what it will mean is Trump Inc. can just go crazy with crypto. So let's have a look at this vote in the Senate. This vote in the Senate, the Republicans are trying to push it through because it's not like it started off. It started off as a regulation. So you'd have to be suspicious that the Republicans were even on board. And now everyone's worked out, oh, that's why. Let's have a look at this bill. It's called the Genius Bill. It's a bit like Melania's immigration application, isn't it? All right, now, sorry, I was chatting on, forgot to show you the cards going down, but we're bonded after all these years. Okay, so all for the money. Very little is mysterious, is it, with this bunch? It's all for the money. But the other two cards aren't as cut and dried. Assistance and help and good outcome. So I think what will happen is there will be some regulation, but it's about the currency itself. It's a good outcome to have some regulation on crypto, but I don't think these cards go far enough into stopping Trump Inc. They'll find a way around that very easily. Okay. All right. So motoring on. And what about? 100% tariffs on movies that aren't made in the US. Look, movies are like everything else. They might be certain scenes are filmed in New Zealand and the post-production is done in the US or vice versa or thing. We globalized many decades ago and you can't untangle the spaghetti, like so ridiculous. And I think in the Yeti's brain, he thinks foreign film is a foreign film, or something. And Americans have the least consumership of actual foreign films. I was quite shocked when I um, saw a graph some time ago. American viewers, by and large, consume virtually 100% American stuff. Now, we, the rest of the world, are saturated in American popular culture. Saturated, right? So it doesn't matter where you live, you see the Terminator and Alien and everything else, but many more things than that. So you had to go down to, I think it was number 127, the only foreign film that appeared that was watched by significant numbers of Americans. Now, I know some of you guys watch UK television because it's such good quality and so forth, but you are the outliers. You had to go down to number 127 film to find Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. So, on top of everything else, it's going to increase the cost of making films and make it harder for independent filmmakers. And of course, it has no benefit at all. Okay, so moving on. Now, Japan. We have to talk about Japan here. Japan is not happy. And they are threatening the nuclear option, as they call it, which is not nuclear power, it's selling US bonds. Let's have a little look here. In the meantime, everything that's impacted by the stupidity of this regime, freight, airlines, restaurants, small businesses, everything else is suffering. And one analyst said, and it was revealing in itself, he said, I did not vote for a neutron bomb to wipe out supply chains and small businesses. It sort of indicates he voted for Trump because he wanted the other upside and the tax breaks, doesn't it? So they may not have voted for it, but that's what they've got, and that's what we've all got. Because everyone's economy is impacted by this. So I want to know which way Japan's going to jump, because that was the biggest fall in the stock market when the bonds started selling. What's going to happen with US bonds? What's going to happen with US bonds? All right, I think there'll be a bit of a fall and a panic and then a bit of a recovery. So endangered species at the moment, it is a bit wounded, the US bond market. It's more important than it sounds, and that's because if the bond market gets seriously eroded, America's AAA rating goes, it becomes more expensive to borrow money, so that the debt that's already in the trillions goes up. I personally have a point of view on these different national debt figures. I think people get hysterical about them, and there's another way of looking at it. But anyway, staying with this, the reputation is damaged of America. There'll be some sweetheart deals, however, preserving money. This could be, for example, a deal with Japan or the Middle East or someone to actually make some money with the bonds if they don't sell them. Something like that. I don't know how to explain that economically, but behind the scenes deals saying, look, all these people are selling their bonds. If you promise not to sell your bonds, we'll give you a better deal, or something like that. Stinky fish, as Hogarth would say, or is it Johnny from Taro's Apprentice? I've forgotten now, but this is see the fish in the cup. So yes, now then I think it'll plateau out. It's a very stationary card. It'll just plateau out after a while. So don't panic, but keep an eye on the movement of the bonds. Okay, so now someone made a list of Trump's accomplishments, which was hilarious in itself today. I'll just share with you. He did declassify the JFK docs, okay, because the year was up, nothing special. He ended the federal support for paper straws. That's really important. We need more plastic in the world. That's a really significant movement. And he ended the production of the penny. So it's like when you look at what he's really done compared with what he says he's done, it's zero. It's pathetic. Okay. Now, yes. Just so you know, there's an app on TikTok or something. I don't know. I don't use any of these things, but TikTok and Reddit had an app called Public Square where MAGA stores could advertise their wares. And I'm only telling you because now there's a counter one that you can go to to make sure it's not affiliated with Republicans and the repression of the LGBTQI community and everything else. So just know you can find out which stores to either support or avoid. I thought that was good. Now, here we go. Yes, a viewer from Virginia asked, Governor Brian Kemp is not running for his Senate seat next year. Does that mean he wants to run for pres? So let's have a look. Brian Kemp, is he thinking of running for president? And that viewer helps run food banks in Georgia. And the fact, look, I digress. I really want to see some of these uber wealthy people supporting something important that might be pediatric cancer research. It could be supporting a food bank in your capital city or something for people to ally themselves. We need more Melinda Gates. Now, the Gates got a lot of flack, but nonetheless, they have saved the lives of millions of children by rolling out the vaccines, which were regarded as a scientific product as opposed to whatever it is now. So, like I said, they could run a food bank, in 3 cities for what Melania spends on sunglasses or Bezos's fiance spends on having pedicures. Like it's obscene. Where was I going? The guy in Virginia, Georgia. Brian Kemp. Does he want to go for pres? Let's have a look. Yeah. Yeah, a bit conflicted about it, but yes, he does. He wants to be famous. He wants a legacy of being president. He'll pretend he isn't like they all do until the campaign starts. There is a bit of conflict probably with his own family saying, are you sure? I mean, so the answer to that question, is yes, but we'll keep our eye obviously on all of that. Now, I just want to spend a minute with Judge Beryl Howe. She's issued, this relates to that other big legal question I was talking about earlier. Now, this is important because she has issued a permanent injunction against the administration, which we shall refer to as the regime, for bullying law firms like Perkins Cole and others and soliciting money from them and making them work for them and she, in her statement, actually used their own bragging against them, including Stephen Miller, one of the more dreadful creatures on the entire planet, who was boasting and saying, yeah, we've made almost $1 billion already from extorting these law firms and who allowed themselves to be extorted. Shocking. So I just want to get a reaction from how the law firms, after the first shock and awe of pay us 400 million and we won't target you, and some did and some didn't, not good enough, actually not good enough. So I want to just have a look at where the law firms are at. And another bit of good news in Texas, in the county of Mansfield, they actually voted out a very conservative Christo-fascist school board. Just one by one, one by one. Take the wins. So are the bigger law firms starting to stand up? The big law firms. I'm doing a 5-card spread here. All right. So a couple of bits of good news in this, which is the Beryl Howell, the actual statement, and the other thing is Justice Roberts. Excuse me, we actually have some power. Okay, but law firms, they don't feel they've got enough protection yet, right? They've been offered a bit of protection by Robert's statement, a bit of protection from Beryl Howell's court, but they're not quite sure it's enough. Compromise. I think some of them will compromise not in a good way, right? Um, yeah, what can I say? Not in a good way. Not all of them, but enough of them that it's an issue, right? In the past, they took all this for granted. You know, we're a circuit court or we're an appeals court or we're a federal court or we're a United States of America, and they were on a fool's errand. They slept through that critical 4 years with the masterful Merrick Garland at the helm doing nothing. Now they're losing power. Every waking moment, they're losing power. And they're starting to wake up to this. This is the card of nostalgia. That's not enough. Oh, the good old days when someone abided by a court ruling. That's not a strategy. That's a nostalgic wish. We need some more cards. Will they start to stand up more? Will they start to stand up more and resist the Yeti? Because whoever stays with him will be going down in their own way. Let's see. The legal system. All right. I think they're more worried than they let on. I think what they're doing here is, this indicates to me, going back to foundational law, like instead of being, there are endless specialities in law, specializing in X, Y, and Z. I think looking at this pentacle, the pentacle can represent values. I think every law firm is actually hauling out its copy of the Constitution from the vault and actually looking at the basics. That is empowering them. I'm pleased to see that. The Knight of Wands, but the Knight of Wands checks the horizon, but ultimately goes forward. I'm not mad about the Hermit, but the most positive spin I can put on this is because it's also the card of higher learning and extending on from this situation. They're actually shining a light on not only their protections in terms of us covering, their responsibility to the people of America, which is above and beyond Packerville. And so I think they are paying attention. All right, guys, got a bit carried away there. So you guys take care. Massive, massive big love. And I will be back soon. And as always, let me know what's going on in your sphere in the comments. Thanks for cruising by. I appreciate it. Subscribe. Cheers. Bye.